I taught constitutional law for 10 years. I take the Constitution very seriously. The biggest problems that we're facing right now have to do with George Bush trying to bring more and more power into the executive branch and not go through Congress at all. And that's what I intend to reverse when I'm President of the United States of America.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now, and he's got the whole panel to himself. Have you ever had a whole panel to yourself? And more importantly, is it possible to be on a panel if you're by yourself?
Well, since this is the Steve Malzberg Show, Steve, you and I can make a panel together out of it.
And if a tree falls in the forest, I guess that's the end. All right, so there's Obama. We're talking to Ron Christie, Republican strategist, once again. There's Obama talking in '08, and of course doing the complete opposite here in 2014, and as he's done. But it's really coming to a head. I want you to give a listen. But no, I want to ask you this first. We had Andy McCarthy, Walter Williams. Getting all confused. We did have Andy McCarthy, but we had Walter E. Williams, and I asked him about the voting felons' right to vote in the states, and what he said. Some governor, some state legislature, some governor, though, more importantly, should come forward and should answer the attorney general and tell him to go to hell.
Well, I respect Dr. Williams a great deal, a brilliant economist, brilliant mind, and I think he's exactly right. What business does Eric Holder have telling, say, the great state of Florida that they should restore voting rights to convicted felons if the people in Florida don't want that? It's by the state constitution, something that this administration has a problem following at the federal level, Steve, but it's the state constitutions or the governors that determine who gets clemency and who gets voting rights, not Eric Holder.
Yeah, no. All right, we'll see if anybody has any inclination to take Walter Williams up on his advice. All right, here's Joe Biden today, Ron, and this is at the Democratic Caucus Issues Conference in Cambridge, Maryland. If that's not a misprint, is it Cambridge, Maryland? Are they in Maryland?
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Maryland.
Okay. Good. All right. So here's what he had to say, and it's a little bizarre because he kind of says no matter who the president is, some are considering that a knock on Obama. Here's cut 55.
It always surprises me when we don't have the degree of optimism we should about the state of the nation. And in spite of who's president, in spite of who's in the Congress, the American people are so much stronger, so much more resilient, so much more capable, that even the ridiculous policies of our friends on the right cannot keep them from moving forward.
No matter who's president?
I can't imagine.
No matter who's president, we're going to move forward? I mean, another Biden slip-up?
I love Joe Biden because he's the gift that keeps on giving.
I know, but he's a heartbeat away from the presidency, God forbid, and that's what's scary.
That's the frightening aspect of it all. But I tell you what, it's just yet another indication that this administration wants to do it their way or the highway, Steve. In other words, they don't understand the nuance of negotiation and deliberation to actually work with opposing political parties and those who don't share their view to get things accomplished. So it's not the extreme folks on the right. The American people sent Republicans to the Congress and the House of Representatives to put the brake on this administration, so they need to worry about the people as opposed to trying to amass more power, which they've done a ridiculously good job of. That scares me.
All right, we're talking to Ron Christie. Let me finally follow up with this. We had Tim Graham on at the top of the show. A couple days ago, I had Larry King on this show, and he made a lot of news by saying that in 57 years in the media, he has never once seen on air or behind the scenes any form of media bias. Not once.
Unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, the person who gave you the best shout-out, rather than I could do this for, was Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, we played, thank you. We played that at the top of this hour. Yeah, thanks.
Well, I think that Rush is exactly right. I mean, you nailed Larry King. To have the idea in his head that there has not been any sort of orchestrated campaign against conservatives in this country by the media is not only absurd, but it's kind of scary. It makes you kind of wonder what parallel universe the guy lives in.
Yeah, and Ron, and you and I could sit here and document just the double standard. And let's talk about Biden for a second. This is something that I love to point out. I mean, when Biden had plagiarism issues during a previous presidential campaign back in the I don't know if it was the 80s, and he was forced to leave that presidential campaign. Law school plagiarism issues, and any one of those that would have knocked out any Republican, for forever from politics. Then he survives that, comes back. He says that Obama's the first black, articulate, clean black person to run for the presidency, or African-American to run for the presidency. I don't know what that says about Shirley Chisholm and Al Sharpton and the rest of them who ran. And then he, in the same, almost in close proximity, says, why is education better in Iowa than in Washington, D.C.? Well, look at the amount of minorities you have in D.C. compared to Iowa. And then he says about the 7-Eleven, Pakistani and Indian, and he's vice president. Any one of those remarks would have ruined the career, politically speaking, of any Republican.
Are you kidding me? Look, that Republican, their career would have been over before it even started. And, you look back at some of the scurrilous charges that were raised about Herman Cain in the last election cycle.
Yep.
And yet not one woman credibly came forward.
Right.
You know what? This is what happened to me. But, yep, the media sunk his campaign based on unidentified allegations when we have Joe Biden on the record. And, oh, yeah, don't forget, Steve, it was clean and fresh and black.
Clean, fresh. Okay, I didn't remember the fresh.
Don't forget the fresh part.
Unbelievable. Hey, listen, Ron, great pleasure as always. Thank you for doing all 3 hours. We appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, buddy. Be well.
Take care. You too. Ron Christie, ladies and gentlemen. No relation to Chris. Here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We have a big half hour ahead coming up for you. First of all, we're going to be joined by Ken Cuccinelli, former Attorney General of Virginia. He is on the law team, the legal team of Rand Paul, who's suing the government over the NSA, so we'll get the inside scoop from him. And then Christine O'Donnell, who the media villainized and mocked when she was the Republican candidate for Senate from Delaware. And she will join us because she wants justice. Her taxes were exposed. Her returns were. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV.